a panel discussion, we usually start right on time. So because we're not waiting on traffic or parking in the city, we'll start in a minute. So excited to have these 4 artists here today, and just so happy to share this theme, garden. We so need gardens right now in our life. We're all stuck in our houses. So. All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. So I am Cheyenne Sauter. I'm ArtShare's Executive Director, and just so happy that ArtShare is doing, still ticking through this crazy time. Myself and the staff at ArtShare, we truly believe that without art, we really just don't have much to look forward to. And so that's what gets us up every day, to bring some awesome content to your living room. So if you guys haven't been watching since April, I think we've completed, I think it's 42 Zoom concerts that have been streaming either on a daily basis, weekly basis, and now we're going monthly. And we are just really trying to keep you guys engaged and create jobs as much as we can. We appreciate you guys creating every day, and so that is also our inspiration. And so this show really came from the want to continue to share art. Tony Figueroa, who's the gallery coordinator, accepted most artwork at the beginning of March for this garden exhibition. And we were collecting the artwork thinking, what's gonna happen? So we went ahead and we installed everything. Everything's beautifully put up in our gallery space. And then we closed and we sealed the gallery for a couple months while we figured out what to do, and how to shift this new practice of art online. And while we were working on home share and doing daily concerts for everyone, we always knew that this beautiful show was sitting there preserved, waiting to be seen. So we finally got our ducks in a row and are presenting it to you over a 4-week period with a variety of different activities. We're doing one-on-one interviews with artists. I know Arit is here somewhere. I had the pleasure of interviewing her last week, which will debut next week. We have a 3D gallery, which Tony will show you, just some really fun, inventive ways for us to view and connect with art while we can't do it in person. So that's where this panel discussion came from. And I just love that we're here in this intimate setting, comfortable in our pajama pants together. So we reached out to Megan Francis early in kind of bringing this garden exhibition to life, because her work is so, it embodies the theme of garden. She is a Los Angeles-based artist, has been painting for years, and her latest series, Lost Landscapes, it just really connects abstract with the monochrome feel of nature, kind of taking nature out of its place and putting it onto canvas. And she just has such a beautiful voice in the LA art scene. So we wanted to invite her here to share this experience with us and interview and moderate the 3 artists. So I will stop talking and hand it over to Megan to initiate the panel and engage our artists and really get to know the work that they created for a garden exhibition.
Thank you so much, Cheyenne. I'm delighted to be here, and hi, everybody. I was really excited to see this vibrant show, and I do love the theme, partly because it connects with my work, but also it just seems like such a great thing given that it's summer and we're all, looking for gardens, even in our imaginations, I think. And I was so impressed with the way it appears in the virtual gallery. So congratulations to all the artists. I think it's awesome. I just wanted to introduce, I think there are a few of the artists are who are watching right now, but we have 4 of the artists on the panel today who are in the show, and they are David Castaneda, Yumiko Fujiwara, Sarah Liss, and Miki Yokoyama. and welcome to you guys. I wanted to just start by asking a sort of general question of the four artists, and that is, could you just introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your work and how it connects to the garden theme? And I guess, can we start with Marco?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me? Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Thanks for tuning in. Initially, I thought in an abstract way that my work would fit with the show, only because I feel like my studio process is essentially a garden. It's sort of a mess. I had to clean it up today because I didn't, I had to present. But I pretty much lay all of my material out on the floor. I have fabric, sculptures, and random objects that I find or make, and I sort of just like lay them out and I let them inform each other. So that's initially like what I thought of as a garden, was like my own personal studio is essentially like a garden that I pick from. And that's how I make my compositions. But yeah.
Great, thank you.
No worries.
So, would you like to go next?
Sure, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm Yumiko, and I'm a writer, and I've also been working with photography and like video installations since around high school. And so my pieces for this show are from a series of digital still life photographs, and I thought they would be appropriate for this theme because they focus on plants and like vegetables and organic things, and yeah.
Great, thank you. Sarah?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, and I love that you're the one in the garden. I wish we were.
Yes. What was your question again?
I wanted you to just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your work and how it connects to the theme garden.
Okay. So I'm Sarah, and a little bit about myself. I live in Altadena, and this area is really lush with vegetation and beautiful plants and wildlife. And so since moving here, I've become really inspired by the landscape and continually like stimulated by like all the things that I'm seeing. And so that's really influenced my work. And the way that it connects to garden is my pieces are basically actual plants that I've encountered that I felt connected to somehow. And so, yeah, I felt they were just right to put in, and yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Great. And Miki, finally.
Oh, okay. So hi, my name is Miki Yokoyama, and I'm a painter, and I also do performance and other artworks too, like sculptures and stuff. I thought my artwork is connected to the garden show because my artwork is based on like how I see the world. I have my I feel the world, and then I let my feeling out to the painting, and the inspiration comes from all the whole world, universe, and the whole world, and the nature. So the garden is plants, and then any other life is my inspiration for my artwork. So that's why I thought it's the garden is the good theme to connect to my artwork.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
I was really interested to see this show is not simply a selection of pretty images of flowers, which you might expect when you enter a garden or a show that has that theme. Darkness and decay and other things are reflected as well. I wondered if you could each talk about how your art practice has adapted to the pandemic. Like, is that influencing your work? And has social isolation, sorrow, darkness had an impact on the art you're currently creating? I guess we'll just go in the same order. Marco?
Am I unmuted? Okay, I think we're good. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm sort of like I was already in isolation when making work. I got myself a printer, and because that was really like my thing, was I was always going into the print lab and making these inkjet prints. But no, my practice hasn't changed very much, luckily. I'm just in the studio working, photographing, rephotographing. The only thing is I miss traveling, like we all miss traveling, I'm sure, because that's where I got a lot of my content from. But I've been going through archives, and that's been keeping me going, essentially.
Oh, that's really interesting, yeah. Yumiko, can you just talk a little bit about that?
For sure. So for myself, I guess like photography has always kind of been a pretty solitary activity for me. Except like for when I'm shooting people, I'm usually just kind of like exploring a specific location, or I'm in my little studio setting. But I think last year I started to venture more into like doing really controlled like portraiture of people in a really controlled studio type setting. And I was getting really into that, but then with 2020, that had to abruptly stop for obvious reasons. So in that way, the pandemic and the isolation has definitely affected like how I work, but it's also, I think, pushed me to focus more on shooting still lives. So I've been just like taking plants, and like I've been taking a lot of long quarantine walks and scavenging like plants and stuff, and using those as my subjects instead of people. But yeah, it's an interesting time.
Thanks. Sarah?
So can everyone hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So, so yeah, similar to what everyone else has kind of said as well, is that I've kind of lived in a solitary like existence as well for quite a bit of time. And so the quarantine, the way that it has like affected my art is I usually do take inspiration, not necessarily in my own immediate space, but I go out to explore a certain part of the city that I feel inspired by, or a kind of hiking trail, or I do a lot of people watching. So I like to also get inspired by encounters that I might see as people pass by me when I'm on the street. So it's kind of been difficult, to be honest, for me to feel inspired during this time. So something that has been helpful in terms of finding imagery that kind of brings me back to a space that's not necessarily all from my head is, oddly enough, Pinterest has been pretty great. I have now been a big Pinterest person my whole life, but up until recently, it's been really helpful. And other than that, the music that I've been playing, it continually just inspires me. So that's kind of been consistent.
Great, thanks. And Miki?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I'm the same with other artists. I'm also, when I paint, I'm living just in my own world. So I'm pretty much isolated from other world when I paint. So it's pretty much the same. Yeah, but I think so when it's this difficult time, like lots of people see the darkness or decay, but it's just the darkness is just a part of our life. It's same thing. We have lights in us, and same thing at the same time we have darkness. So I think how to see the world is how your heart reacts to the world. And I think how you see the world is connecting how your heart see the world. So I think our heart is like a globe, and one side it has a light, but one side it has a darkness. So in this this time, very difficult time, but it's also connected to the other side. So it's just a part of our life, and we have to like accept it. Sometimes it's very difficult for me too, but it doesn't like last forever, and everything doesn't last forever. So yeah, and my artwork is coming from like everything, like my heart as a globe with the darkness and then the light side. So yeah, darkness is a part of my artwork, and the light side too. So I just do like observe the world, pray for the people who is suffering, and yeah, but I just hope to recover this whole world, moving forward to recovering. And yes.
Great, thank you, Miki. I think it's so interesting because artists, I don't think I find a lot of people are struggling more than artists are. Like when people talk to me about it too, I say, well, we do retreat to do our work. It's sort of like not as much of a difficult time. I mean, it still is, but we still can't ignore that this is a virtual show, and art is created to be seen in real life. And it's difficult to get a sense of the scale and the texture and the drama and the impact of a work of art in a virtual space. But luckily, this show is being presented in a really great, realistic virtual gallery platform that I think really engages the viewer. And I want to know how all of you feel about seeing your work presented in this online format rather than in real life. I guess we should start with with Marco again, sorry.
No worries. I think I'm like happy. I'm fine with it being online or in person. Like I think, you know, it's still a show. I think it's super fun. And I think it's fun to sort of make work that can live like beyond like just like like for me as a photographer, work that can live beyond a frame. So I'm excited about this show. I'm happy that it happened, and yeah, I'm just really grateful actually.
Great. Yumiko?
Yeah, like I guess with my photographs, I don't really see them physically that often. Like I mostly see it on a screen, or like the most physical version I get of it is like through negatives. So I do feel that there is a missed opportunity of being able to see it in real life with all the other pieces. But I have really loved the virtual gallery of this show because I love virtual reality and I just love all the implications. I think it's really exciting. I think like the whole experience itself of this virtual gallery is very experimental in and of itself, and it's kind of like an installation, you know, which I think is really cool. And I think it brings up some really cool questions about like how we relate to art and what it means when it's no longer like a physical destination or physical thing, and like how we value art, you know, and it also makes it more accessible. So in that way, I thought the virtual gallery was really cool. Like I've never been in a virtual show like that before. And I'm excited to see how it'll change how galleries show art as well after the pandemic. Yeah.
That's really interesting, thanks. Sarah?
So I was actually a little skeptical in terms of a virtual gallery, because what I love about seeing a show is going in person and just feeling the vibe that you get when you're in the space. And then I really love going up close to pieces and seeing all like the minor details, and I just kind of get really sucked in. So that's something that you can't necessarily do when you have a virtual gallery. However, it was something that reached beyond my expectations, seeing this one. And I really did enjoy how you can walk around in the 3D gallery space and, you know, find all the information by the click of a button on a certain piece. And so it was really a new experience for me in terms of, and everyone, for the virtual gallery experience. And also, I'm like a really not video game computer person. So just kind of even learning how to like maneuver myself as if I was in Sims or something was like really new. So it taught me stuff. So I enjoyed it.
That's great. It is interactive in a different kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I'm very sad I cannot be there in person and see the works in person, but I'm very appreciated and very thankful the virtual show is happened. And then I checked in, and I was like really like enjoyed it for the virtual show. Like I felt like I'm in the video game character and then going through every in the gallery and see their artworks, and if I click it, I see the name and this. Yeah, so I really enjoyed it, and it's very for me it's very new, I think for everyone, but yeah, it's new. And I think even after the pandemic, maybe it's good idea to have a show like this sometimes. And after the pandemic, since the pandemic started, I was like, I never been as a game person, video game. I never played video game that much, but since the pandemic started, I started playing video game, and I really like into it for some reason. And then so it's the same feeling, like something new, and I really enjoyed it. So very thankful.
I never thought about the virtual gallery as a video game, but I love that. Really I like the idea of an art video game. I think that's amazing. Before we ask the next question, Maggie, would it be okay if I showed the PowerPoint of some of the work? So first I'll show the work of these 4 artists, and then in a little while at the end of the panel, I'll show the work of all the artists in the show. This is the artsy page where you can go and see all the work and get more info about all the artists in the show. This is the virtual gallery they're referring to, where we're all Sims characters, which is really exciting to think about in a gallery. What we did here is try and rebuild ArtShare. We just made it a little bigger. All this work and all this info, again, is on our website. You can see, and again, all the work in the garden show.
And Tony, why don't we leave this work up while Megan continues her questions?
Great idea.
Shall I go ahead? Or did you have more, Tony?
No, absolutely, go ahead.
Well, this is perfect timing, actually, because as you're going into the fact that there's an artsy page and all of that, I mean, the show is produced in partnership with Launch LA, and it's being featured on Artsy, so it gives the participating artists and the show overall extra exposure, which I think is a great thing. I mean, we are looking for, all of us are looking for ways to make the most of these virtual shows right now. So I'd like to know, some of you touched on it a little bit, but I'd like to ask each of you, given the dynamic of this show, during this really strange time. What are your hopes and expectations for the show? And in what ways might that be different from how you would be thinking if you were in a regular brick and mortar gallery show? Marco?
I don't know if I have a lot of expectations. I'm just super excited. I guess initially I was looking forward to, you know, the opening and having my friends and family there, being able to engage with people like one-on-one. But since it can't happen, I think it's really great to have it on all these different platforms. You know, having it on Artsy, Launch, and on ArtShare's website and Facebook. I just think it's really fun. I like talking to people on social media, and that's been happening, like as I share the work and I share ArtShare's posts. So it's just been fun. I've just had a great time with it. I'm really grateful for the opportunity. And yeah, I really, really, really love the virtual show. I know everyone's already talked about how it's like The Sims and video games. But I think it's just like a completely different experience. And I feel like it's pretty telling. It feels like this is the direction that, you know, the art world is moving, and I'm not mad at it. I'm like super excited about it, actually. Feels very, well, a bit more democratic than, you know, a white wall gallery. I'm excited.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it does make it more accessible to more people in a kind of weird way.
Yeah.
Yumiko?
Yeah, I agree with what Marco said. I do think I really like how it does feel kind of more democratic, just like it's more accessible, and it's very exciting to see like how these changes are gonna impact the future, you know, of art and how we express ourselves. And I just like, it feels weird, you know, to be locked inside this huge city and for all this time. And so in that way, this show has been a really great respite from, you know, like with the garden theme. And like LA is so kinetic in how like diverse it is and all of the experiences and voices, and there's like so many issues with this city as well, but there's also so many positive things. And so I just really like how ArtShare LA, you know, and Launch LA, how you provide this platform to kind of show this really vibrant spectrum of art in LA. So yeah, I think it's really cool. I don't really know what to expect just because it's really difficult to like predict anything at this time, obviously with the pandemic. So, but yeah, I think it's exciting and I'm really happy to be a part of it.
Great. Sarah? Sarah?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So since I guess I already spoke about expectations that I had prior, something that I guess are my hopes coming out of the show, and I don't necessarily know about after the pandemic, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like ArtShare has done like a really incredible job of getting our work out there in a way that I don't know if it would have been done as aggressively in terms of because it was like a necessity because people aren't going to walk in such a central space, and so having to collaborate with Launch LA and having our work on Artsy, I feel like it's given us like a much wider audience, and that is like, that isn't, I don't know. I'm like really grateful about it because I honestly didn't expect that anything so amazing would be happening this year because this year's been like really depressing. And so for art basically to still be living on and transforming through times like this, it's been really incredible to be part of and watch. So I don't know, that's what I'm thinking about it.
Thanks. And Miki?
Yes. Yeah, I don't really know what to expect, but to be honest, I feel like I'm not smart to think that way, like what to expect. So I'm not sure, but I just thankful. I'm just like really, really thankful and appreciated everything Elliot share do. Yeah, that's really it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thankful.
Thanks, Miki.
Thank you.
I'm going to just ask individual questions of each of the artists, and I'll kind of rotate, especially because I'm concerned about time and getting everyone in. So beginning with Marco, your book, to me, I mean, it kind of combines photography, but with sculptural effects or sort of a sense of sculpture. So you're using what looks like a two-dimensional medium, but has sort of a 3D something innuendo. Can you talk a bit about your vision, particularly related to the work in this show?
Yeah, I think in general, I sort of think about my work in 3D terms. I mean, I'm a lens-based artist, so sometimes I feel confined by just making work like for a wall. So I've been trying to push photography in a way that is like, I don't know, like I'm inspired by architecture and malleable structures. So I have started to experiment with different printing techniques and different printing styles on like different types of paper, some that's double-sided so that I can, fold things and cut it up and just like transform whatever it is that I'm working with, like from its original intent. Um, yeah, so it's never just about the photograph for me. It's more about pushing it beyond the photograph. Like, how can a photo become a sculpture or become like an entire installation? Like, I prefer to like think that way rather than just making a work to like put up on a wall.
Great, thanks. Yumiko, while your pen and ink images of, or actually I think these are digital images of discarded organic vegetation, they're really beautiful, but they also portray decay. And it's like you're giving your subjects one last chance to be appreciated before they rot away. Can you tell me more about this paradox? Like, how and why are you interested in capturing the connection between beauty and decay or death?
For sure. And I love that interpretation. Thank you. So I don't really know how to define like what's beautiful, but I guess like I've always found decay to be really beautiful because I think it's like a fundamental aspect of how we experience this world. So circling back to the garden theme, I feel like we often see nature as something that we try to control. But what decay means for me is it's like a reminder of time passing and a reminder of our lack of control and the fact that we are nature as well. It's not something outside of us. So yes, with these images, I guess like photography for me has like, it's like an opportunity to preserve moments in time. So that's kind of what I liked about capturing these images, and that's where I guess I see the connection with decay, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks. Miki.
Yes.
Your works in this show are sort of a hybrid of painting and drawing. I guess that's kind of my read of it, with organic forms and line defining landscape figures, flowers, dwellings, and all these things that emerge from the background. And to me, they're very narrative images. They seem to portray surreal worlds. And I'm just wondering what you're thinking about when you're creating these worlds. Can you talk to us about the surreal imagery in your work?
So So what you see in my painting, like landscape, figure, flowers, everything you see is just what I see in the real world. I feel like, yeah, like I see, like I feel it. I see it, I feel it in the real world. And it's, for me, surreal is my painting. I feel like my painting, not surreal. The real world is more surreal for me sometimes. Like sometimes I don't understand, or I don't know like what to live, and what is this world mean, and what is this whole like happening around me. And I just like to live in my maybe dreaming or my own world. So this world is more real for me, and then this is how I see in real world. And yeah, to see this world, it just like this whole world is made like by the cycle of like chemical reaction over the years and years and years and years. And then I confuse like what is like me, myself, and this world now. It just for me, like I feel like it's just a dot, tiny dot in the whole universe, whole time that universe made. Like my life is just maybe like 80 years or so, and just it's just like very tiny dot for me. And that's one of the dot. I feel like that's one of my life is just one of the dot in my painting. So I feel like I disappear, I'm nothing. I don't know where I come from. I don't know where to go, but I just part of those float.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Miki.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, in your work, I see sorrow, beauty, and loss seem to be woven in these, in your film and photography, and your still images in this show seem to be characterized by a mood of sadness. What subjects are you most compelled to capture in your images? Can you talk about mood in your work? Does it just flow? Does mood kind of flow out of your choice of subject organically, or are you consciously pushing the mood?
Yeah, I'm definitely not consciously trying to push the mood. It really does just happen on its own, where I'll come upon a certain plant. So yeah, so basically the subjects that I like taking photos of, there's a few, but one of them is of plants in different cycles of their lives. And so when I come upon a certain plant and I see it in however it's appearing, and even how it might be laying down, or where it's at in its life cycle, what is its surroundings, it just all kind of comes together with a feeling that usually I'm connecting to at that moment in time, and that usually just becomes like, gotta get that photo. So that's usually how it happens. So yeah.
Great, thanks. Marco, can you give us a little bit of insight into your piece, Gardener, which is one of the works in this show? Can you tell us where the idea came from, and a little bit about your process, which you've talked about a little bit before already, but.
No worries. It has like a working title. It's a little bit different. It's New Home with You. But I try to think of work in 3D terms. And this too was like one of the first pieces that I made when I was messing around with a printer, and I had this double-sided paper lying around, and I just kept like making mistakes, and then like folding, rephotographing, cutting things up. I was just trying to have fun and not really think too much about it, but then it's like I started to analyze what I was doing, and what was going through my head was I was in the Bay Area for a while, and I was trying to figure out like sort of what the experience is of being in a place but not feeling connected to it, or feeling like, I don't know, having to build like an artificial home within a place that just felt like it was always in transition. Like I always had friends who were coming and leaving, like professors coming and leaving. It was just this repetitive cycle. So I decided to make this piece in the shape of a house to sort of validate the placeholder as the real thing, essentially.
Okay, that's really interesting. Thank you. Yumiko, the pieces in the show are part of your series Still Life. Can you just tell us a little bit about, you've touched on it already, but a little bit about the concept behind this series and your medium, which is an unusual one, I think?
For sure. So there's like a misprint. It's not pen and ink on paper, they're photographs. And then like, I think there's also a misprint in the pricing, like there's an extra 0 at the end. But anyway, so what was the question again about process?
Yeah, well, I was asking about the concept behind this series.
Okay.
We talked about that already.
For sure.
Somewhat. So if you want to talk about the medium and process a little.
Right.
Yeah.
So I usually shoot on film, but then and so I have like a flatbed scanner to scan my negatives into digital, and then I was kind of like, I had these flowers that were dead because I'm really bad at taking care of flowers, and I kind of wanted to see what would happen if I like physically superimpose like these translucent dead leaves over these negatives and scan it. And that didn't really work out, but instead I found that like scanning the plants by themselves make these really, really rich images. And so I just kept doing it, and I kept playing around. Especially during the pandemic, I would walk around my neighborhood and find like scavenge like plants and stuff off the ground. And when I arrange them and combine them in different ways, I don't really know, like when I'm in the process of doing it, I don't really have any kind of logic or concept. I kind of just do whatever feels good. And then I digitally color correct and retouch them. But yeah, I guess I've been playing more with color this year. So these images, it's when I started playing around more with color and trying to create more natural color combinations. And yeah, so that's what the series is.
Thank you. Miki, can you talk a little bit about the work entitled Meet Yourself? What's the meaning behind that? And why did you give it that title?
Meet Yourself is so the person in the painting is my friend who lives inside of me, inside of my mind, and he never met himself before, and then he never find out how to meet a real himself. So I was hoping someday he will meet like real himself.
Okay. Yes. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Sarah, you seem mostly interested in landscape and snippets of scenes. And while you don't use the figure often, I was looking through some of your work. Sometimes clothing or parts of a figure appear in your work, or there's a suggestion of a human presence even if we don't see a figure. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that actually relates to a photo series that I've done, which is called You Just Missed Them. And it's also on my website. And that photo series was about the concept of as if you were looking for someone or trying to catch up to someone, or maybe you're just a a stand, like a walker by or something, and you see just something on the ground, that kind of just acknowledges a human was there. So whether that be trash or like clothing that they left on the ground, or maybe even something as simple as like when you leave a mug on a coffee table and you'll kind of see a ring around it when it's pulled off, like kind of just these little hints that, oh, like there was someone else who was here. So that was kind of the initial idea behind that photo series. But that photo series was really just photos I was always taking, that I was always drawn to, that feeling of like, oh man, I just missed it, or like I just missed that person, or why is that there? That's so random. And even in terms of like, so one of the photographs is a footprints on a desert like ground, so, and like tire tracks. And so it kind of just became an acknowledgement to me that someone else has been here on this desert road, where you kind of just see no one for miles, and you also don't really feel alone, that you're stepping into a place that someone just came from or came out of. So I guess that's kind of why I really attracted that being the subject, because I do feel alone a lot and lonely. So when I do come upon things like that, it's always just kind of like nice reminders.
Comforting somehow. So we don't have a huge amount of time left, so I'm just going to throw out a question if anyone wants to jump in, and maybe you can tell me, Tony, Cheyenne, you know, how much time you think we have. I was just going to ask you all if you wanted to jump in and talk about decision making with regard to palette. You know, how do you make your choices about palette? And for photography, what role does color play in your work? Anyone?
Well, for myself, oh, can you hear? Oh, color has been really interesting because I usually like never pay attention to it. I kind of just let, I usually like really underexposed photographs, so they're very undersaturated. But then with these digital photos, I found that I can kind of like really play around with color, and I have so much freedom to do it. So, and I used to kind of shy away from color because I thought it was unnatural. But I found that to create like unnatural color combinations in a natural thing like plants creates this kind of its own little, it kind of like creates its own little reality, if that makes sense. So for me, like in terms of decision making about color, like it's been very like I really get in the zone while I'm retouching and color correcting, and kind of just like see what looks the most unnatural. And then I guess this is for like newer things I'm working on more than what's in the show, but yeah, so that's been a really fun part of decision making with the color.
Great, so interesting. Anyone else want to talk about palette?
Yeah, I can talk about color. Am I on mute? Okay, this is good. I feel like my palette sort of comes from this one experience that I had. I had an artist residency in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, and it was like in an island off of Sao Paulo, and it was the first time I had ever been in like a legit jungle, and I just saw all of these different greens and blues, like these different versions of colors that I had in my head that I thought I had already known, but it was like completely flipped. And so that's sort of been my approach, is to like be in that mindset when I was on this island in Sao Paulo, and approach color where it's like these extremes, but then I dial it back or add. But yeah, it's really more about like exploration and finding different types of color that I thought that I had understood, and trying to reteach myself or be open to different iterations of things that I thought I knew.
Great, so interesting. Anyone else want to jump in?
So I'm going to jump in real quick. This is Cheyenne. So I definitely want to do two things before the hour is up. I would love for Tony to share the 3D gallery.
Okay.
So that we can kind of see this show in real time and take a minute or two long tour. And I also want to call out and say hi to all the artists who are here, who are not speaking. And so I see JRC is here. If you want to unmute yourself and just say hi.
Hey everybody, good to meet you.
Hello.
Hi. And we're gonna throw his Instagram and everything into chat. And Robert Stewart is also here. He's iPad 2. Robert, if you want to wave to everyone. And then and then I believe, who else is here, Tony? I believe Arit is here. I mentioned her early on, but yeah, if we could show the 3D gallery, that would be awesome.
I'm here.
Oh,
Lisa Baldwin.
Oh, hi, Lisa.
Hi.
I don't see you yet. Oh, there you are. Good to see you. So I'll go ahead and show, I'll share their stuff in the chat. But yeah, love to share the 3D gallery.
Hold on. So you can go ahead.
You want to talk us through this, Tony?
Yes, I'm going to try. It's definitely going to break up because it takes up a lot of Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So welcome, guys. This is a 3D gallery we built, as we said. We definitely tried to copy ArtShare's main gallery or make it look as much like it as possible. And what's really exciting about this is you can walk up to any of the work, click it, and it does give you info about the artists. And then if you go to our page where we host the gallery, you can get all the artists' Instagrams, titles of the work, and then leading to their artsy pages, their Instagrams, their websites, all their info. So again, just gonna take you through here. And just letting you guys know, we did have this artist panel, but we also have one-on-one interviews with other artists from the garden show that we are posting on our Instagram and Facebook weekly. So it is like Sims. It's a little choppy, but it's fun to walk through. It's fun to play around with.
Yeah, it's a really engaging way to experience the art. I was super skeptical because I'm old, but Tony assured me that it would be really amazing, and I think most artists are really enjoying this experience.
Yeah, I think it's awesome, and I had the same thought when I entered these galleries that it is video gaming. It feels interactive, like you're entering the room. It's fun.
Absolutely, it's amazing.
And again, just shout out. Oh, if I can get there. When you guys do go into it, I do advise you, have everything else closed. Don't have Zoom open, don't have anything else open, and I promise you it will not be this choppy.
It's seamless. It looks really beautiful from my point of view.
Oh, here we go. So again, I will share the link too in the chat. I'll share the PowerPoint presentation and the catalog. If you go, I'll send the link. If you go to our website, you have links to access to all these.
And I will say that the gallery is much cleaner than the real thing. So it's nice to see it in this very hermetic environment. Well, Megan, I'll turn it back to you for closing remarks, but yeah.
Okay, great. Well, it was so interesting hearing the, more about each of you and where you were going with your work. And great to meet all of you, and hope to see the work someday in person, in real life. Thank you all.
Thank you, Megan.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheyenne.
Yeah, thank you guys. Yes, feel free to unmute and stick around for a minute. It's nice to, I really miss openings. I really miss being able to meet everyone in person. But this is, I think it's actually caused a lot of galleries to think outside the box and to feel challenged to have the pleasure to show your work. And that was really where that partnership with Launch came in. You know, it pushed ArtShare to really think outside the box.
Yeah.
Going
That's
on,
like a white box.
it'll add more value to virtual spaces, I think, when galleries think of them.
For sure.
I'm just going to keep touring the gallery while you guys are here. I'm just going to keep doing this while people are hanging out.
That's great.
Beautiful.
Should I share the links? I got it.
Definitely.
Okay, cool. I think you have to send that link out because I don't have it on my thing.
Okay.
Cool. Well, thank you again, everyone, for spending this awesome hour with us. Thank you so much, Megan Francis. It's so great to connect with you. And a little plug connection. Megan showed her artwork at ArtShare, I'm going to say 4 years ago, Megan?
3 or 4, yeah, maybe 3. It was a really nice show. It was a great experience. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. So
it's great to see you again as well.
Thank you. And 4 years later, she's moderating a panel. So so happy just to be a part of your career and trajectory and a part of your journey as an artist. And
thank you.
I'm so happy to have the pleasure to do that with JRC and Marco, and Yumiko, everyone who's here. So we're in this together.
Yes.
Great. Thanks, Tony, too. It was great working with you as well.
Thank you. I love this.
This is something very cool.
Yeah, everyone unmute and say thank you, Tony. Amazing job.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
Good job.
Thank you, Tony.
Nice.
Thank you, Tony.
Much.
Thanks, y'all.
All right, guys. Have a great night. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys. All the links are in
Thank
the
you.
chat.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Tony.
That's so nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Thank you very much.
Bye, Robert.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Tony.